commercial radio broadcasts and has extensive experience at speaking at major university campuses. Mr. Edwards is an internationally ranked athlete and medal winner in the 2000 racquetball world championships in Mexico. Mr. John F. Edwards.
Wow, I got to tell you, it is great to be here with you. I am thrilled beyond belief. When Victor Nieto called me and this opportunity presented itself, I just got so excited I started to giggle. Yeah, I got to tell you why. You see, I have had the pleasure of dealing with a lot of financial, and so I just want to recognize and affirm you for the work that you're doing and the lives that you're touching and impacting, because I think it's just tremendous. In fact, I think those in the educational field, whether they're in front of the students, whether they're in the office, or whether they're the people who prepare the room for the students to feel comfortable in, have a significant role in society today. I think you have more power than we sometimes admit to. In fact, I think there's only one group of people who have more authority and power and influence in this country than you do, and that's the role of a parent. Other than that, I think you guys are really setting the pace for the future. You're really influencing the future of what this country is going to be, what this country is going to do, and how this country is going to look. Is there something wrong with this location? That's what I'm making myself. So now I'm all concerned now about the experience I'm about to have. Maybe I should be doing business elsewhere. Hey, the English language is a difficult thing to grasp and comprehend. There's so many different meanings for so many different words. I remember in college, one thing that drove me crazy, all my friends in college saying, well, it's the same difference. What's up with that? Same difference. So I just empathize with the kind of work that you have to do to try to get people to understand this most difficult language that we call the English language. I'm particularly proud of it. But hey, here's what we say at Motivational Consultants International. We believe that in order for you to be successful, in order for you to accomplish the things that each and every single one of you would like to accomplish, in order for you to accomplish it individually as well as a group, one of the things you're going to need to know is you're going to have to stay on top of the wave. You're going to have to stay on top of the wave. What's been really exciting for me is that we're also going to talk about the two types of successful people who can be successful during the waves and stay on top of the waves. And in doing my research, in speaking with Mr. Nieto and Victor and Alexander and some of the wonderful members of that team, I got the distinct impression that I am already in front of a group of winners. A group of people who already embody and possess a lot of the skills and traits necessary to stay on top of the wave. So we spend our time at the Edwards Group just researching the most successful institutions, the most successful people in the history of the world. I might share a couple of those stories as time permits throughout the course of our time together today. But I believe that if we look at them and look at what made them winners, we can truly learn what we need to do, have and be, in order to have, be, and do what they had and were and could be. Figure out, well, what do they have in common? What do they have in common? I can tell you what they don't have in common. When we look at the most successful people in the world, they don't have in common socioeconomic status. They do not have in common ethnic background. They do not have in common geographic location. They do not have in common financial income status. They do not have in common the same educational background. They do not have any of those things in common. You want to know what they have in common? I'm glad you asked. They do have in common the A, the B, and the E of the wave that we're going to talk about. So we talk about winning in the wave, and the W stands for? That's right. It stands for studying, understanding winners, and the common traits that they have. When I think about talk about understanding and imitating winners, I'm reminded of the story. This is one of my favorite stories. I'm reminded of the stories of two kids at the breakfast table. Now, how many of you in this room either have children or at one point was a child? Can I see you? Just show of hands. Okay, all right, good. So I got the right crowd. Hey, so these two kids, and you're well aware of what's going on in the story, because these two kids lived in a house where there were certain words you could not use. And Mom had a pretty strict rule about that. But kids, they have to. It's their psychological psyche. They have to test the limits. They've got to push the boundaries. So the two of them decided that they were going to do that when the opportunity presented itself. So here they were at the breakfast table, and Mom is fixing herself a cup of coffee. She turns around. Hey, we need to learn from the mistakes of others, don't we? We need to learn from the advantages and accomplishments of others as well. So when we talk about studying winners, we're talking about studying the kinds of things that they have in common. And now, one of the things that you'll notice that winners do for other people, kind of like the people in this room. Winners do for other people. Let me give you a couple of illustrations. I love studying the life of Mahatma Gandhi. And There's a story about him that I really, really like. He was traveling one day, and he had a reporter with him, and they were running to catch a train. And as they were running to catch a train, and as Mr. Gandhi jumped up onto the train, he lost one of his sandals, fell off on the train tracks. The reporter ran up behind him, jumped onto the train. And the reporter turned to Mr. Gandhi, and he said, Mr. Gandhi, I'm sorry that you lost one of your slippers. Because, you know, he didn't travel with anything. He didn't really have anything. You know, he gave up the potential of a lucrative life in order to further the cause that he believed in. And without hesitation, Gandhi bent over, took off his other sandal, and threw it on the train. The reporter said, what are you doing? Now you don't have any shoes. And Gandhi turned to him and said, yeah, but the guy who finds those now has a pair. See, his heart, his whole psyche, his whole mission, his whole purpose was about other people. And so we tend to historically remember people that have had that kind of dramatic impact in our lives. When we talk about energy, it's amazing that when our back's to the wall or we're in the pool, we tend to call on the energy that we need. But dedicate that energy to accomplishing the things you want to accomplish, not only individually, but here at Sony. Dedicate your energy to being able to pull those things off and to leave that indelible mark. And so those are the kinds of things we're talking about. When you want to stay on top of the wave, we talk about you got to first study and determine that you want to be a winner, that you will be. You know what? If you don't want to, we talk about the W's for winners. We talk about the A's for attitude. Your attitude determines your outcomes, determines your destiny. We talk about V. The V is for vision. Without a vision, people will perish. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have it as a group, and your leaders have already taken care of that for you. You've got to have it as individuals. You'll get some tips on how to do that a little bit later today. The E stands for energy. You've got to have energy and determination because you're going to hit one obstacle after the other. Some of them will be dressed in clothes that look like relatives. People who don't necessarily believe you can accomplish the things you want to believe. Some of them will be friends who are well-meaning. A lot of it will come from the media. But if you're determined to do something that's going to leave this place better than the way you found it, that's going to leave someone's life, touch someone's life, leave your community better than you found it, then you too can take the place, same place as some of the great people in history. Even if you're not written up in the history books, you're going to influence someone who's going to influence someone who's going to... It's just disproportionately expounding the kind of role that you can play. And an industry that you're in, because you're in this industry, because you're in this place at this time, influencing people who are looking for information. So we talk about the E, standing for energy and enthusiasm. Coming up right after this session and after we get a brief break, you're going to have access to two really wonderfully brilliant people. I call them, one of them, I call her Coach Laura. Coach Laura is going to share some wonderful things with you. There's a woman who has some energy, who has some vision, who has some wonderful ideas. I hope you bring all of your questions to the table. But I understand some of the challenges and difficulties some of your students must go through in trying to learn this language and trying to understand and function in this community. And you guys are my heroes. Thank you for the time.
We've utilized John's expertise and motivational power to energize our workforce and to build a program, a half-day program around success, goal setting for success, and taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions. John has definitely empowered our group, has set us on a course that will certainly be a huge look for us in the year 2004, and has handled our unique educational background in a fashion and manner that really is beyond impressive. Couldn't be more pleased.
Really enjoyed John's presentation. He was funny, he was bright, he was really personable. When he stood up and opened his talk, he really captivated the room. He had a wonderful, warm presence that I think brought everyone in. I also liked what he said. It was easy to follow, interesting and inspirational.